Thank you so much for clicking on this video and for checking it out today. My name's Jo Ray. My husband John and I, we put a lot of effort into planting our gardens each year, and each year it takes us a really long time. We are in zone 4 in Montana, and over here we have to wait quite a while to get all of the different growing spaces planted, and it is not really a one weekend one and done. It is more of a marathon. And when I mean it is a marathon, today is actually the 4th of July, and I feel like everything is pretty well planted. It has kind of been for, I would say, 2 weeks at this point, and we are on to the next phase, which is the weeding phase. So that's kind of where we're at now. So in this video, I'm going to kind of show you some stuff at the beginning of the season. I don't include everything in the video, and then I'll show you kind of where we are at the end of the video. If this rain lets up, I will take you on a little mini tour around, kind of show you what the spaces are looking like now, but there will be more extensive tours ahead. Well, let's get into it. Here goes our 2025 planting season. Starting off, here's a look at some of the finished product. Back on April 23rd, we started growing some greens outside, and we start all of our plants inside of our greenhouse or direct seed. There's only a few things that we buy, like sweet potato slips. Otherwise, everything else is started by seed or a cutting or something like that. And we also grow plants to sell to other people as part of a way to make money, and because it's nice to be able to share some of our passion with other people. So this is the greenhouse way early on, back in April. Everything's still really tiny. Our first real thing we got planted outside this year was potatoes, and we did a different method this year as far as planting them in a more orderly fashion and a more fast way, as shown right here. I made a whole video on the channel about it if you want to see a pretty fast way to plant your potatoes, and you just need a tiller with a furrowing attachment in order to do it. We planted, I think, 12 or 13 rows of potatoes out in our garden this year, and those are 100-foot rows, and we have 5 different varieties. And all of our seed potato was overwintered in the root cellar this year, which was really nice that we had it on hand. Next up, May 26th, we are getting the big greenhouse planted, and honestly, we are about a month later than we should have been for this job, and next year we will make adjustments. The reason we're planting this out later than I would have liked to is because I honestly didn't start our tomatoes and peppers for this growing space accordingly, so a little bit earlier. I started them at the same time, or barely a little bit earlier than our field stuff. So I'll make that adjustment next year, and we'll be in here about a month earlier is my hope, because this is a heated greenhouse if we need it to be heated, although that will cost a little bit of money in propane. Right here we're getting some cattle panel trellises on because we're not quite confident to trellis to the roof in this greenhouse. You just never know, those plants get really heavy. And in this greenhouse we are planting tomatoes, 3 rows of tomatoes, 2 rows of cucumbers. We're doing some watermelon that we are trellising. We're doing some watermelon that we're allowing to vine out. We're doing some bushing type tomatoes that will be in a Florida weave. We're also doing some eggplant and some peppers in here. So a little bit of everything, but this is a great growing space for those types of things that I just mentioned. May 31st, this is the original garden space for this property, and it is completely overgrown with weeds yet again. So we did get our big tiller out there to give it a quick till, which was really nice. This big tiller is something that we invested in this year, as well as the tractor last year. So these big pieces of farm equipment are going to be something that just help us get these jobs done, because it is a lot of work to get the walk behind tiller out there and get this job done. I mean, this took my husband maybe, I don't know, 40 minutes, and with the walk behind tiller, he might be out there a couple days at different times, you know, a couple chunks of a couple hours getting this job done. So this year it was definitely really nice to have this new tiller. Now, I know there are a lot of people out there who go to a no-till method, and maybe we'll attempt that down the road, but the way these grounds get overrun by weeds, it is something that is so hard to keep up with us here. If you watch over in the back corner of the frame, you will see me weed matting our honeyberries, and there's some currants over there too. Of course, now I don't see myself over there, but that's what I'm working on. There I am. And those particular plants just became overrun with weeds last year, so I'm hoping to mitigate it with the weed mat all around them. And that's actually weed mat I'm reusing from a previous growing space. last year's chili pepper field. So it's nice to be able to reuse some products. And anyways, getting back to the whole no-till thing, someday I would like to test it out a little bit, but until we get our weeds under control at this property, it is not an option right now for us with how many different growing spaces that we are growing in. We are on to June 1st, and right here my husband is seeding the first planting of corn. We're going to be doing 2 plantings this year. Last year we tried 4 plantings, but we decided to bump it back this year due to our short growing season. Here's a quick sneak peek at the alfalfa field. On June 2nd, this is what the greenhouse is looking like. It's looking really nice, if I do say so myself. And June 5th, something we tried this year was flame weeding some of our weeds out in our potato field. If you look really closely, you can see those teeny tiny weeds, and this method did really help knock them back. After a while, we did discover we had some bindweed in here, which the flame weeder did not seem to be effective for the bindweed, but it is for the other weeds that we have in this growing space. Here's a little bit more of a up close look at those tiny weeds. Kind of hard to tell. There are a couple that made it through, but those are the size of the weeds that we're flame weeding right now, those teeny tiny weeds. Back on June 6th, you can see the first planting of corn back there with the irrigation already on it. This space in the front here is all prepped for the second planting of corn, and over on the side here, he is getting the other garden space planted. You see all of that overgrown stuff on the left. That is all going to be tilled, and it'll get ready to go for our weed mat. Here's planting the second seeding of corn, so June 7th. We did those about a week apart, the first planting and the second planting. He's just using an earth waste seeder this year to get this job done. And this here is another new big investment that we did. This is a Nolt's plastic weed mulcher, and it is laying drip tape. It is laying plastic weed mulch, and it's making a bed under there. We have a nice, compact soil under there, which will be nice because then we won't have lots of different spots for water to settle and such. And down the line we go. We are getting ready to plant 5 trays of Big Jim chili plants. We have more pepper plants over here that I need to pay a little bit more attention to when I put them out because of the different varieties. We have a lot of plants. There's some more pepper plants down there. Look at these beautiful plants this year. And this year we had a new tool called a stand and plant, and this made planting things like peppers that were in those nice little plugs much easier this year. I have a few tips for how to plant these even better next year, but we'll get onto that next year. This worked great this year, and we'll definitely do it again. Down the line we go. We definitely could have just done this by ourselves, but we were chatting as we were doing it, so it was okay. Look at that, 2 rows planted. This took us a fraction of the time of what it would normally take to plant 2 rows up and down. Planting the stand and plant is helping a lot, I would definitely say so. We are still on June 8th right now, and something else that we decided we just really needed to do was remove this garden fence because of all of the weeds that would grow up inside of it. This is why we're doing this. Look at that. It's impossible to weed around this. Old weed seed, just weed seed hanging out. Our worst weed is definitely bindweed, and it just grows up and into the fence, so it had to go. Today we are getting onions in the ground, finally. Look at those. Finish pulling these apart. In our plastic weed mulch, which is really exciting. They look really good. Patterson onions are done. We are on to red carpet F1 onions, and look at the size of some of these. They look really great. So we're gonna get these popped in the ground. That row's looking pretty good. 2 of us for an hour. Almost the whole row's done. We have 1 more variety left. 2 plants. Not today though, it's getting dark. It's June 10th now, and we are back at the house garden space is what we call it, the original garden space, and we decided to pretty much weed mat this whole thing because that bindweed over here is so bad. Over at the hayfield, this is something else that needs our attention. He has the wheel line up and running this year. That was a goal, and I'm really glad it's up and running. Don't mind all the weeds in the foreground of the picture though. On June 11th, here we go. I have some drone footage for you. Here is the cornfield right in the front. It has both plantings. Here's my husband out there moving the wheel line. Yes, we do not have a wheel line mover, so he gets out there and he pushes the wheel line where it needs to go, hooks it up, and lets it irrigate. So here he is working and pushing that wheel line to the other end of the field. This was one of the days it's the big push because he has to push it all the way from the one side all the way to the other side. So he has to get it all the way over there to the right. But it sure does look kind of neat as he pushes it across the field. And while he's over working on that, I'll show you where we're at for the gardens. The potatoes are on the right, all of those chilies are on the left in the plastic mulch. Then we have all of our winter squash planted next, and they will vine out onto that empty patch. We have the greenhouse, and then over on the left there are those honeyberries we weed matted, and then we had the house garden there. It is later in the season than I'm happy to admit, but it is June 11th, and we are planting these big tomatoes today. We're doing sunrise sauce first. I'm kind of taking them out in loads out there. Would you like to say hi? Yes, I know. These plants are super ready to get into the ground. These are just our bushing varieties that we're planting today that are going to be trellised on a Florida weave. So some of these are going, some of these are staying. We are doing sunrise sauce, is this orange yellow variety. We've grown it a long time. I really like it. We are doing Goliath early bush. Those are all separated down there. We are doing bush steak. That's a favorite of ours. And then we're trying this Carolina Gold, which is also a yellow variety, but it's new to us. They're all supposed to be bushing varieties, I believe. So Florida weave should work well for them. We're putting them out in our plastic mulch area. We have a lot of other tomatoes that we're going to cage in the garden, I guess, since they will get huge. Like this one will get huge. And we have a lot of tomatoes over here that didn't sell from our start, so we're going to throw them in our garden too. Not today. Let's get out to the field with our first batch of plants. Plant them out in this area here. All right. There's your future home. This year for planting these tomatoes, pretty much I just lay them out and then John gets to plant them, which is really nice that he's up for doing that because it is a lot of bending over. We couldn't use the stand and plant for these because they were in those big cups and they wouldn't quite go down the tube. Next I'm on to planting out our beets. I should have done beets and onions way earlier. We didn't have our plastic weed mulcher then, and I really wanted to plastic weed mulch them. So that's why they are going in so late. As of current state, they are looking really good. So this is hopefully going to work out really well. But we're getting all of our beets planted. I think I have 3 or 4 different varieties. And a quick walk back down the line. They look pretty good. I did separate the varieties by the spaces, like right there you see a space that's between 2 different varieties, just to keep my mind a little bit more organized. But everything's starting to look a little bit more full in here. Now it's June 12th and I obviously missed some planting footage because we got a bunch of tomatoes and tomatillos already into this original garden space. Today we're planting some more tomatoes and I'm going to put in some other odds and ends in a minute. We were also just getting some of the garden lines organized and burning some of the holes in the plastic because we weren't sure how many rows we were going to do in this growing space. Now it's June 13th and here's some more of those odds and ends, a little bit of basil and some other herbs. I'm putting some, I think, zucchini in on one side. Yep, on that far side over there, that's going to be all of our winter squash and stuff, or just a couple extra, I guess. And then I'm putting some more plugs in over there for some beans. And right here we are making an arch trellis for some cucumbers and some rapicante zucchini, which we really like, and those trellis out pretty good. So we did kind of a nice arch for them this year. And while all this is going on, I am working on organizing all of our start cups. This was something I really wanted to tackle this year because it has become a mess and I know I need them organized when I need to go look for them in the spring. And we decided to wash all of our start trays this year. This had been a step we'd been skipping in the past, but I decided to do it. June 19th, we have some potatoes peeking through and they're looking pretty good. Our weed pressure is not looking super bad, but we're definitely getting out here and weeding a little bit. And now we are on to June 19th, and we are actually preparing a sprinkler system because we are due to get a frost. It is forecasted to be near freezing, and we always know we are a little bit colder where we sit, so we got a sprinkler system set up to try to save these plants. And on June 23rd at 5:10 in the morning, we got a frost of 29 degrees. We had solid ice on the windshield. We have all of our sprinkler system going and the heaters running in the greenhouse. You can see clearly where the water was hitting and where it was not. So everything inside of our sprayed circle looks really good. We are so fortunate we made it through that frost with minimal damage. It is June 26th. It's time to pull some garlic scapes, and for the fun of it, I'm going to throw in some hang footage into this video. June 25th, it's one of the other tasks that we have to pay attention to, is cutting the hay. So finally, we have a tractor, knock on wood, that keeps on running, and we have all of the equipment, so it is one of the first years my husband is able to bale our hay and not have to hire it out. And that is a really nice feeling. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can continue with this. So I'm just going to kind of put on some footage of him cutting our hay and baling the hay and just looking at the scenery. So here we go. July 1st, and here's our big pile of hay for our first cutting. It finally stopped raining, so I'm going to kind of give you a little overview of where we're at. Today is July 4th, so all of the perennial flowers over here, they are looking really nice. I'm excited to see them grow and continue to put on some really pretty flowers. We did get them all mulched with fresh new mulch, so that is really exciting. And it smells really amazing out here like pine chips. So behind me we have our house garden, or we call it that just because it's in close proximity to the house. And as you saw in the video, we weed matted this whole thing this year except for a little section over there that we tried to do beets and carrots in. They're not coming up super amazing, so we'll see. We're just going to kind of let them go. I have all of the tomatoes and tomatillos caged at this point. So in this garden space, what we decided to do this year is have this space be our just in case everything else out in the field fails garden. So what I mean by that is we put tomatoes in here, we put a few of each variety of winter squash in here, we put a few zucchini in here, we put a few cucumbers in here, and you kind of get the picture. And the reason that we did that is because last year we experienced a complete crop failure where we put all of our big plantings of various produce. I won't say complete crop failure. We did get potatoes out of there and a couple baskets full of hatch green chilies, but otherwise complete crop failure. So that's why we planted this way this year. Now, if those big fields that we did plant that I'm going to show you in a minute, if those do well this year, which right now they're looking great, this space will look completely different next year, and we will probably do a dedicated crop in here. It's kind of what I'm thinking, but I don't know. We'll see our lessons that we learn at the end of the season and make that decision. Over on the side here, we have some garlic, and it is doing really well. I've heard with garlic, you want to wait till like the bottom 3 leaves kind of go crispy, and that's when it's time to harvest. So we're getting closer to that, but we're not quite there yet. They have all been scaped, so we removed all of those curly scapes so it can send more energy into the garlic bulb. And these garlics were not planted until December last year. We were super tardy on it. It was something that got away from us, and turns out they did great. They still made it through the winter, and they still are hopefully going to produce some nice garlic bulbs inside of the soil, but we don't know quite yet. So we have 3 beds of that right here. And then over here, this is something that's new that I wanted to give a dedicated space to. We have sunchokes, or Jerusalem artichokes. My understanding with these, because these are also new to us this year, is that they will produce a flower at the top, and then the tuber, or the root, is the part that you eat. And you can just keep eating on them, divide them, plant them, and keep it going, kind of like potatoes is what I'm thinking. You do plant them out in the fall though. So we planted these last fall, a little before we planted out the garlic, and they are doing really well in this raised bed. And over in this section, we have some new raised beds. These are Vigo garden beds, and I was trying to establish some everbearing strawberries in these. Now, our particular strawberry roots that we got did not quite come up as I would have hoped, so I went ahead and seeded carrots in these just so we make sure to use these spaces. They are barely coming up. They're really tiny right now, so we'll see how they end up doing at the end of the season. And in this bed, I have some more perennial things like some thyme, some sea kale, and some sorrel, and then I stuck a couple dahlia bulbs in here as well. So the sorrel, the sea kale, and the thyme over here. And these should come back next year, all except the dahlias. I'll dig them up and put the tubers in the root cellar and then have them again next year. Right here we have honeyberries, or Hascamp berries. These were already established by the previous owners. There are also some currants in here and gooseberries in here, but it's mostly Hascamp or honeyberries, same thing. And this year what we did is we used old weed matting, and we weed matted these because, as you can tell, there are weeds growing under here. That's why it's so puffy looking, but so far it seemed to have really helped these plants. We did get a little crop off of these this year, so that was exciting. Now I'm going to take you to some more exciting spaces. Everything behind me, it's really exciting in my opinion. Now we have the greenhouse and the state that it is currently at. Come on in. Right here are all of our sweet potatoes for this year. This year we have 3 varieties. We have Beauregard, Covington, and Vardaman. And Covington and Vardaman are new to me. I did grow Beauregard last year, so just 1 tub of Beauregard, and I think those are Vardaman. And these are Covington. This is my 3rd year trying to grow sweet potatoes in Montana. Last year we did this method. I had 5 pots in here, and they did pretty decent. I have a video on the channel about it. But this year we kind of upped it and we switched varieties a little bit to try to hopefully improve our yields. So we'll see. Stay tuned at the end of the season and I'll let you know how they did. Over here we have some bushing type tomato varieties that we are weaving on a Florida weave, and they are doing really great. They have not been pruned in quite a while, and we're not going to prune them anymore. We do need to get another line of weave around them to kind of hold them up. You can see they're due for one, but they are doing really awesome. And then on the side over there, we have various peppers. So there's some green chili, there's some bell peppers. It's kind of just a pepper trial row. We did a few of each variety, and we're going to see how they perform, because we're trying to find a pepper variety that just surpasses everything else that we really like. Back behind me, we have a few other rows. We have 3 tomato rows and 1 cucumber row. All of our cucumbers are by Alpha, and our tomatoes I did like heirloom in this row, and then cherries, and then the back row is kind of a mixed bag of various other tomatoes that we've really come to like. We are pruning these and trellising them on a single, some are on a double leader, and most of them have officially reached the trellis and are clipped on. So that's exciting to finally get them to that point. You can see the cucumbers though are not clipped on quite yet, but they're gonna get there. Now as we come into the greenhouse a little bit more, on this side we have some more cucumbers. I opted to try a pickling cucumber inside the greenhouse this year that is supposed to be for greenhouses. So this variety is new to me, and then I stuck some more of our really favorite cucumbers back there that are not a pickling variety. Over on this side, there's something I'm kind of excited about. These are watermelons, and a few of them are seeded watermelons to pollinate our seedless watermelons, and they seriously grow this much every day. I come and wind these every day around this. It's kind of crazy. They are being pruned kind of like I would prune a cucumber, and we're going to see if we can grow them up this trellis. It's a bit of an experiment, but how else do you learn besides trying, really? Look, we have some little melons on here. Actually, first time noticing those. Yay. There they are. Back here we have eggplant. These are all Midnight Queen eggplant, I believe. They're starting to look pretty good. We have some flowers on them, but I don't see any eggplants forming quite yet. So a few weeks and hopefully we'll have some going. Back behind over there on, those are actually feed bags that I cut open and laid out kind of like weed mat. They're chicken feed bags for the most part. And these are watermelons. This is the same variety we grew last year. I'll put the name on the screen when I get inside and I look it up and remember what it was, because it's skipping my mind right now. And they did so awesome. We got some really decent size watermelons last year, and they're an orange watermelon, like watermelon this big. I'm not kidding. So that was awesome. Something I didn't like about last year was the fact that when they were vining out, there were a lot of weeds underneath of them that I couldn't really deal with and get rid of. So the plan here is to prune them and to have them vine out and try to keep it over here. They're gonna vine more than this, but that's just what we're gonna have. And then I probably will prune them down to about 2 watermelons per plant, maybe 1 watermelon per plant. So we'll just see. Last year we had a viewer on here tell me to prune them, and thank you so much if that was you for telling me to prune them, because we got watermelon and now we're trying it again, and we're trying a new variety as well. Here's down the cucumber row, and looky, we're starting to get some little cukes. Once they start coming on, they don't really stop coming on, so we better start picking them. And back here, this is our new growing space, and so far, fingers crossed, it is doing really well. Fingers crossed it continues to do really well. We added the black plastic mulcher this year as part of a new farm tool that we bought, and so far I'm really loving it. Weeding in the pods is something we've been doing a lot, and then cultivating in between the rows is something that's been happening. We tried using the tractor to do that. We have to work on our methods for doing that, but so far this is where we're at. We have our things over here that are gonna vine, and they're gonna vine that way. So that space over there will probably be tilled, or we might put a big mat on it so that we can vine everything that way, because over here we have pumpkins, we have winter squash, we have some cantaloupe that we're trialing, we have a couple extra watermelon that we decided to try outside this year. A lot of viney stuff, so we're going to vine it that way. 3 rows of that, and then over here we have some field tomatoes. These are bushing varieties similar to what's in the greenhouse, and they're also going to be staked on a Florida weave. We actually need to come out here and weave again, because some of them need a little extra support right now, but they're looking really great. This row is a zucchini row. Then we have 2 green bean rows. The closest green bean row
are green beans that we've been growing for years that a neighbor gave us the seed, and we love them, so we keep growing them. And there are 2 plantings of those, so the second one's a little bit shorter. And then on the side there, we are trying something different. We had an extra row, so we decided to throw in some beans that will be dried beans for us to enjoy in our pantry this winter. So we have 4 varieties in here, so we'll see how they end up going, and then we'll have a bunch of beans to hopefully pick and shell this winter when there's not much going on because it is so cold here in Montana. Over on this row here, we have a row that is covered in weeds, but I'm going to show it to you because this was a row that we established early in the season under a little low tunnel, like a caterpillar tunnel, and it was greens early on. This year we tried selling some greens early on, and for us, it didn't really work out super awesome. We did sell some, and we did have some people come for U-pick, which was nice, and we got to enjoy so many greens this year, which was really nice, but I need to improve my ways to market greens, and that's just something that I want to work on. But that's that over there. At this point, except for the kale and the Swiss chard, it's all going to go to seed, and the lettuce is starting to become bitter, so we'll probably yank it out and let it just feed the soil. Back here we have 12 about 100-foot rows of potatoes. We're doing 5 varieties in here, and they're varieties that we stored in our root cellar all winter, so we know we really like them, and they are doing really well so far. There has been a lot of weeding happening to try to maintain them, and there's still quite a few weeds, but they're doing pretty good. So little potato field over here. Over here we have Big Jim green chilies, and then other peppers, some jalapenos, some bell peppers, things like that, and they're looking really, really good. So I'm really excited about how these continue to grow. Then we have a little eggplant row right here. We decided to try them in the greenhouse to see if they end up getting much bigger, and to plant them in the field this year, because why not? Let's try it on the black plastic and see if that makes a difference for making some good eggplant. Then we have a full row of onions. 4 varieties of onions this year. 2 we've grown before that we've really liked. Patterson and Allison Craig. And then we added a red onion this year, and we added candy because we know a lot of people grow candy and it usually does really well for them, so we wanted to try it too. Then we have our beet row, and at the back of it there are some more green beans back there. This row over here that's not coming up so well, this is all soybeans for making edamame for our family because my kids really like eating the little pods. And I think a critter got into these because the germination is horrible. And when we got that frost a little bit earlier on, that a lot of things were saved with our sprinkler system that is in the video. These were just on the edge to not get sprinkled. So I think a lot of them ended up dying from the frost. And I know a lot of things on this row ended up dying. The front part of this row was covered with a little sheet to cover it. The back part of this row, they were just seeded and they'd barely started to germinate. They were all sunflowers and they all died. So I tried replanting some of them. Some of that back row won't be replanted, but that's just what happens when frost happens. And we're gonna call it for this year with that. Over here we have our cornfield. We did 2 plantings of corn this year, so we'll have a little bit of succession in our crop that comes in. It is still really small, and 4th of July, definitely not knee-high corn, but this is kind of where we're at with planting this directly outside and not starting them and then covering them. There are other methods to make our corn bigger at this time of year, but we didn't do them this year, and this is just kind of where we're at, and that's okay. We should still, knock on wood, have a successful corn harvest as long as we continue to try to manage the weeds in here. Oh look, our first zinnia. So that's where we're at for this season. If you want to see how this garden, the other garden, the cornfield, all of it, the greenhouse ends up progressing, please consider liking and subscribing. We like to share a journey of growing food in Montana because there are some things that we have to deal with that are a bit frustrating, but when it works out and when we get a big harvest, it is amazing, and we are learning right along with you sometimes about how to be a little bit more successful for years to come. So thanks for checking out this video, and hopefully we get to catch you on the next one.